So one of the things that endears us a little bit to Dick is that he has this love of his life. Um, I've got to ask you, Kenneth Nelson, who was an actor who was in the original Fantastics, was in the original Boys in the Band. Did you have? It sounds like you interviewed Carol Cook and people like that. Is that true? Is that the is that your invention, or is that the reality that he was enamored of this actor for his?
They were in 17 together,
Yeah.
and it is completely made up. The idea that Coleman fell for Kenneth Nelson. Insofar as I know about Dick Coleman's, shall we say, romantic tastes later in life, they really would not align with the kind of sweet-natured fellow that Kenneth Nelson was. He was much loved by Carol Cook, who knew him in an entirely different set of circumstances from the woman you're talking about as the first girl. That's literally the character's name, the girl, in the Fantastics, was a woman named Rita Gardner, who only died several months ago. And I interviewed Rita in New York just before the pandemic started, and she had loved Kenneth. And I don't think she liked the fact that I had some characters calling him Kenny. She said he was never Kenny to me. He was always a Kenneth. But she said I knew all about Kenneth's life back in those days. She said we always knew about Kenneth's life, and Kenneth was adorable, and she said was somebody different, all the time. She said he was kind of like a gay Jerry Orbach in that way, who was also in the Fantastics. I mean, he was cutting a wide smile. She says, but he was very sweet and troubled to some extent. And she said, it's just incredible to me, looking back, and she, by this time, is a woman in her 80s, that one could never say a word about it. You just couldn't ask him a question. What's bothering you? Is it somebody? And she said, I knew it, it was love troubles or whatever. You just couldn't. And she just said, it just seems unbelievable to me now, but that was how life was. And but Kenneth Nelson, he kind of, his career sort of circles Coleman's a lot. They both did different road companies of a musical called Half a Sixpence. But while Coleman's career was cooling off, I mean, his last big role, he played Little Louie Groovy on Batman.
I've seen that.
He's like a hippie record producer. Nelson looks like he's having a big breakthrough with Boys in the Band, but it was not a great thing for his career, because once he had played this gay character, even though this was a really groundbreaking play and movie, whatever, it was not exactly a great advertisement for future casting. So he wound up, he moved to England, and he did theater over there for many years, and died of AIDS in his early 60s.
Like so many of them.